Hi everybody, today we're going to have a look at the subtraction algorithm. Now the subtraction algorithm is good for doing large numbers and decimals, and to do it, it has a more complicated algorithm than subtraction, and it's one that more students coming from primary school can't do. So as a bit of a reminder, place the numbers underneath each other, aligning place values in columns, add zeros to the end of each number until you have the same number of digits in both numbers. Start from the rightmost digits. If the top digit in the rightmost column is greater than the bottom digit, subtract the digits. If the top digit is greater than or equal to, that should be. If the top digit is less than the bottom digit, then borrow from the left and add 10 to the top digit. With borrowing, remember that you have to keep going left until you find another non-zero digit. If there are 0 digits in between, make sure you change them into 9s. Then subtract them and put the number underneath. Repeat for all of the columns. So that's the basic algorithm. Much easier, as with many of these things, to see it than to describe it. So here's our two numbers. They're written in place value columns, and you can see here that 52 doesn't have any decimal places, so I've added zeros in its place. Then we go to the rightmost column and subtract. 5 take 0 is 0, 2 take 0 is 2. Make sure the decimal point's kept in the same place in a nice line. 5 take 2 is 3, and here's where we get stuck. We can't take 5 away from 0 because it would make a negative number. We've got no way of dealing with negative numbers with the algorithm. So we're going to borrow from here, but we've got nothing to borrow from here. It's a 0, so we go to the next column. Reduce this by 1, becomes 8. Cross that out, make that 9, and we've got 10 now to subtract from in the column that we're working with. 5 from 10 is 5, 9 from 9, we have 9 in this column, we have 8 in this column, we have 2 in this column. There's nothing to subtract. We get left with 28953.25, or 28,953.25. Here's a second example. 4052.68 take 99.35. They've got the same number of decimals, so we don't have to put any zeros in. We can start subtracting straight away. 8 from 5 is 3, 6 from 3. 5 from 8 is 3, 3 from 6 is 3, 9 from 2 we can't, that would make a negative number. Borrow from the 5, make that a 4. Put the 1 up there. 9 from 12 is 3. Can't take away 4 from 9. Can't take away anything from 0, so we'll go up to 4. Make that 3, make that 9, make this 14. 9 from 14 is 5. Bring down the 9, bring down the 3. Done. And you can start to see with this example why students get in a bit of a mess, because this is getting quite complicated. It's not complicated algorithmically, but it does look messy, and it's easy to put numbers in the wrong place and not do the correct subtractions, especially when the numbers start to get all jammed next to each other. So 0 from 2 is 2, 5 from 3 doesn't go, borrow from the next digit, make that 3, make that 1, 5 from 13 becomes 8, that's right. 6 from 3 you can't, borrow from the next place value, make that 7, make that 13, 6 from 13 becomes 7, 3 from 7 is 4, 8 from 9 is 1, 1 from 8 is 1. The answer is 1147.82. Write down that digit on the top, write down that number on the bottom, write down that number on the top, write down that number on the bottom. They've got the same number of decimal points, so we don't have to add any zeros. Can't take away 5 from 1, make that 7, make that 11, 5 from 11 is 6. Can't take 8 from 7, make that 6, bring the 1 across. 8 from 17 is 9. Can't subtract 7 from 6, make that 6 into a 5, make that 16, make that 9. That becomes 5, that becomes 7, that becomes 3. Done. Place that number on the top, this number on the bottom, same number of places, don't need to add any zeros. 5 from 4 is 9. Sorry. Can't take 5 from 4. Can't take it from 0, borrow from the 8, that becomes 7, this becomes 9, that becomes 14. 5 from 14 is 9, 1 from 9 is 8, 4 from 7 is 3, 1 from 2 is 1, 9 from 2 you can't. Borrow from the 7, make it a 6, make this 12, 9 from 12 is 3, 5 from 6 is 1. 1313.89. 4642.37, take 2880.53, 3 from 7 is 4, 5 from 3 you can't, borrow from the 2, make that 1, make that 13, that's 8. 0 from 1 is 1. 8 from 4 you can't. Borrow from the 6, make that 5. 8 from 14 becomes 6. 8 from 5 you can't. Borrow from the 4 becomes 3. 5 becomes 15. 8 from 15 is 7. 2 take 2 from 3 is 1. 1761.84. 2054.11 take 1140.95. 5 you can't take away 5 from 1. Borrow, that becomes 0, that becomes 1. 5 from 11 is 6. 9 from 0 you can't. Borrow from the 4, make that 3, make this 10. 9 from 10 is 1. 0 from 3 is 3. 4 from 5 is 1. 1 from 0 you can't. Borrow from the 2. I haven't written it, but I've done it. 1 from 10 is in fact 9. 1 take 1 is 0. There we go. 3022.71 take 589.83. 3 from 11. 3 from 1 you can't. 6. 3 from 11 is 8. 8 from 6 you can't. Borrow from the 1 becomes 16, becomes 8. 9 from 2 you can't. Borrow from the 2 becomes 1. 9 from 11 becomes 2. 8 from 1 you can't. Borrow from the 3 becomes 2, becomes 9, becomes 11. 8 from 11 is 3. 5 from 9 is 4. And you're left with the 2 at the front. 2432.88. 6184.31 take 2933.15. Can't take 5 from 1. 3 becomes 2. That becomes 11. 5 from 11 is 6. 1 from 2 is 1. 3 from 4 is 1. 3 from 8 is 5. 9 from 1 you can't. Make that 5. Make that 11. 9 from 11 is 2. 2 from 3 is 2 from 5 is 3. 3,251.16. 8131.11 take 2753.09. 9 from 1 you can't. Borrow, that becomes 0, that becomes 11. 9 from 11 is 2. 0 from 0 is 0. 3 from 1 you can't. Borrow from the 3, that becomes 2, that becomes 11, that becomes 8. 5 from 2 you can't. That becomes 0, that becomes 12, that becomes 7. 3 from 7 from 0 you can't. That becomes 7, that becomes 10, that becomes 3. 2 from 7 is 5. How many of these are I set to do? 6965.901620.45. Had to put the 0 on the end this time because I haven't got the same number of decimal places. 5 from 0 can't. 9 becomes 8, that becomes 10, that becomes 5. 4 from 8 is 4. 0 from 5 is 5. 2 from 6 is 4. 6 from 9 is 3. 1 from 6 is 5. 5,345.45. 635.925. 347.736. 6 from 5 can't becomes 1. 6 from 15 is 9. 3 from 1 can't. What have I done here? See, this is what happens when you do too many. This becomes 8. This becomes 1. Two from 5 you can't. That becomes 2. That becomes 7 from 15 is 8. 8 from 2 you can't. Borrow from 1 becomes 12. 3 from 5 is 2. 9 from 5 you can't. That becomes 5. That becomes 15. That becomes 6. That becomes 2. That becomes 2. That becomes 4. That becomes 0. Borrow 5, 4, 6, 2. Should be able to follow by now. Borrow becomes 3. Subtract. Borrow becomes 4, 7, 6. $9269.62. Borrow becomes 5. Can't. Borrow becomes 9. Decimal places line up. 4 from 8 is 4. 8 from 16 is 8. 0 from that is that. And 6184.95. 8930.39. 6930 is also a bit ugly. 5 from 9 is 4. Can't. Borrow. Need to borrow from up here. That becomes 9. That becomes 13. That becomes 8. 0 from 9 is 9. 3 from 2 you can't. Borrow from here becomes 12. 3 from 12 definitely isn't 9. I was also getting tired at this point. Or is it? No, it is. It's 9. 12 take 3 is 9. 9 from 8 you can't. Borrow. 9 from 18 is 9. 6 and 7 is 1. 1999.84. Last one from this set. 5286.02. 3074. I need 2 more decimal places. That's the zeros. 0 from 2 is 2, 0 from 0 is 0, 4 from 6 is 2, 7 from 8 is 1, 0 from 2 is 2, and 3 from 5 is 2. And you can see that some are complex, some are not complex. No rhyme or reason, just be aware of how to do it all. Now this looks fine when this number is bigger than this number, but when it's not, then there's an extra step. Based on our arithmetic properties, if we want to, we can subtract b from a and change the sign. And when we've got a negative number to make this algorithm work, we have to. So in this case, you can see here 3420 is bigger than 2308. So if we take the negative and swap the terms around, we can then do this subtraction, which will work. And that will leave us with 1112, and this tells us that we have to change the sign of whatever the answer is of this, which is what we did here, and the answer is 111. Move this down a bit. 1112. And there you go. The subtraction algorithm and a way of getting around when the first number is bigger than the second and you get a negative answer. I hope that was helpful. It was a bit long, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.